With us now, Sarah Mucha, Axios White House correspondent, and Dr. Wright, who teaches political polling at Princeton University. Ladies, nice to see you. Sarah, first to you, 31 days out. Does the White House have a plan?
Well, what they're saying now is that the president is adamant about keeping Title 42 rather the lifting of it in place. But this gives those moderate Democrats that you talked about, including the Senate Democratic chair who's sort of in charge of deliberating on elections and helping Democrats figure out how they're going to be planning their election strategy in the Senate. That's Gary Peters. He, along with all of these moderate Democrats, are using this as an opportunity, you could say, to speak out against the administration, talk about the importance that they have, that they place on border control or on immigration. Specifically, an interesting statement came from Congresswomen Alyssa Slotkin and Abigail Spanberger, both vulnerable Democrats who have not been afraid to speak out against the administration, and they urged the administration to delay that lift because they said they want a plan in place. It sounds like from the conversations that Democrats have been having, especially those outspoken ones, that they aren't feeling confident about the administration's preparedness at the border. Even some people are urging Secretary Mayorkas to go there.
Axios even had reporting that Secretary Mayorkas himself has some serious questions about the plan. The language, wait until there is a plan, perhaps could be changed, or the Washington translation would be wait until the election is over. Lauren, polling on this, 47-53 American people, 53% oppose ending Title 42. We hear that question. We know exactly what it means. Has the American people yet sort of realized what ending it will mean in the kind of pictures we're going to see in 1 month from today at the border?
Well, you know, people are very concerned about illegal immigration. That's at the very top of their list of priorities heading into 2022 alongside the economy. But you're exactly right. I think for someone who doesn't pay that much attention to politics day to day, Title 42 is sort of an abstract concept. So where you see the numbers converge is if you ask about illegal immigration in general or migrants coming to the border without anywhere to go, that sort of syncs up with this general concern that Americans have.
You know, I'm thinking, Sarah, about you said 9 senators who already come out against this. A number of members of the House have warned about this. These are the moderates. The progressives take a very, very different view of this. I'm thinking about the chair of the Progressive Caucus from earlier this month. President Biden, the Biden administration must use this transition period to continue to address the longstanding backlog in the courts and the implementation of a comprehensive immigration plan that addresses not only enforcement, but rebuilds an asylum seeking that is just and humane. Translation, you better lift Title 42. What scares the White House more? Progressives becoming sort of disenfranchised and just not caring and apathetic about the election, or moderates walking away and voting Republican?
That's a fantastic dichotomy to point out. I think on one hand, progressives, for the most part, of course, this is not a blanket statement, but they have their districts locked in to some extent. They usually run in more progressive areas. They don't have to win those elections in the same way that some of the moderates need Republicans to cross over and continue, those swing voters that I talk to once a month. And immigration, especially illegal immigration, as Lauren was saying, is a top polling issue. And specifically right now, Republicans are weaponizing it. They are launching, they're ready to use it as an attack during the midterm campaigns. And so we're seeing the administration kind of straddle this borderline. And we also reported at Axios, our Jonathan Swan and Hans Nichols reported that the administration was considering delaying the lift, which sees a little bit of a tendency toward that moderate thinking, because they know that they need to keep those moderate battleground states where those moderate voters are to keep control of Congress during, by the way, a difficult election year.
On the other hand, if you don't lift Title 42, you acknowledge that COVID is still an emergency. Lauren, this caught our eye. 59% of people say they want a mask mandate for when they fly. they believe in the CDC's mask mandate, which is curious on two levels. One, that the White House wouldn't be more urgent in trying to enforce it and appeal because conceivably it polls well. But then you get this tweet, Marty McCary, MD, master's in public health, one of the leading voices in the pandemic. 10% of my flight is wearing a mask, a quarter of flight attendants. We should all respect any person's decision to mask. No one should taunt them. Civility has always been an American value for sure. Is there a polling bias here when you hear 59% of people say we should have masks on planes, but every picture we see of people on planes, nobody's wearing a mask?
Well, I mean, it's hard to tell. I mean, I would need to see the specific poll, but it's true. You know, a lot of people are having trouble with these inconsistent messages. I mean, what does it mean to have a mask mandate on a plane if people are eating and drinking the whole time and not even wearing the right kind of mask? And it brings up all the sorts of issues that you introduced the segment with. But you know, I think it's also correct to talk about these two issues, Title 42 and the CDC mask mandate, in tandem, because what they have in common institutionally is you would expect the White House, you know, no matter the cost, to try to preserve executive power. That's what it seems they should be trying to do. But the broader issue for the Biden administration is the messaging on immigration and on empowering the CDC. I mean, it's very hard to square these things, but the bigger issue that, you know, Sarah brought up talking to moderates and all of her reporting, even the moderate senators can't articulate the Biden administration's immigration policy. Not a lot of them know what to say about the mask mandates either.
Hey, Lauren, I'm really glad you brought this up.
No one is in lockstep as you would expect them to be on the Democratic side right now.
Yeah, there certainly seems to sort of have been this splintering of messaging compared to what we heard during 2020. And that happens when you have a party fully in power. Obviously, we saw it with the Republicans during President Trump's first 18, 20 months in office, and now we're seeing it again. Ladies, always good to see both of you. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Yeah. Nice to see you too, Sarah.
Thanks, Leland. You too.
Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.